My name is Tim Fielder. I'm a visual Afrofuturist. I'm here in the third iteration of my show, Black Metropolis, 30 Years of Afrofuturism, Comics, Music, Animation, Decapitated Chickens, Heroes, Villains, and Negroes. This show is about all of my life, my career, from when I was a kid all the way to now. So I'm a visual Afrofuturist, and I do my work where I work the margins of Black culture, science fiction, technology, race politics, and I tell narrative stories in comics, graphic novels, and also, since that time, film. I came to New York, and it was January 7th, 1987. And I used to work in a copy shop. Now, I know a lot of people might ask, understand, what is a copy shop? It's where you have Xerox machines. And I didn't run the machines. I worked in the back doing what's called paste up and mechanicals, where if you see this right here, like this stuff here, if you had like copy, that would have to be on a separate piece of paper. You would have to use glue. So this is before the advent of computers to do this type of work. So a lot of this stuff is hand lettered. So this stuff is with Darius James, who wrote Negrophobia. And I did this concept with him called Lizard Puke. And this was a flyer for a guy named Hassan Abdul Wahid. I don't even know if Hassan's still around, but he was the printer who produced brochures and stuff for the Copy Center. And I did flyers for the Village Voice, for the Black Rock Coalition. That's the thing, I'm known for Afrofuturism, that's what I'm known for, but I did a lot of hip hop stuff. Particularly because I worked with as a freelance artist for Alternative Weekly. So if they had hip hop stories, sometimes they would give them to me to draw. Public Enemy, this is the one that got me on the outs with The Voice, I think, because it was all kind of dramatic stuff going on with Public Enemy at the time. So Infinitum, let's be frank, we live in a harsh time. It's not 100 years ago, so things are better. But I wanted to do a story that ultimately is about, even though there's that race component there at a portion of the story, but once we move further and deeper into the story, it becomes about redemption. How many people have lived in a world where you have a regret, right? And who oftentimes never has an opportunity to make amends for a regret, something you did wrong, right? And the main character does this thing that's so terrible. No spoiler alert here, spoiler alert. He does something that's so terrible that he's literally cursed with immortality. So I wanted to show this guy who's a warlord. That's what he is, professionally, he's a warlord. He's not a nice person. But I wanted to do what would happen if a warlord who couldn't die was forced to contend over and over and over again with mistakes he made. Ultimately, he would have to learn, even though it would be hard, how to redeem himself. So Infinitum is about the entirety of the human condition, down to the point of certain elements in the story is about, will humans survive? How will they survive? When Afrofuturism ultimately goes to its highest point of maturity, is when we're talking about not just a watered down, but a kind of expansive perspective on the human condition. That is what I wanted to do with Infinitum. I don't know if I succeeded. I certainly gave a swing for the fences, I did. But that was the objective. Yes, I wanted to definitely touch on all those points of Afrofuturism, right? Certainly the book was designed that I even said to myself, I'll never get another chance to do a book. I want to leave all of it on the field. So Infinitum is like 10 of those books put in one. It's 287 pages of pain and blood and sweat and tears. And you might ask, well, is this for kids? No, it's not for kids. However, if you're into Twilight, you could probably dig it, if you're a young adult. But it is a book primarily for grown folks. It deals with adult and mature themes. It's violent, because I love action movies. And it's also straight up science fiction, in certain ways, hard sci-fi at certain points. I wanted to deal with a story that extended beyond the base of Afrofuturism, which sometimes can just be about race, but then some of it extends to where it's not overtly about race, but the fact that the main character is Black. That's enough. I wanted to take the story up to that point and then move beyond it, where there is no race whatsoever. It's just beings. Black Metropolis was initially, it was a science fiction story where I was depicting Yoruba Orisha in these sci-fi settings. First it was black and white, and then it eventually became color. But that didn't work because who's gonna publish that in 1990, 91? You know what I mean? Nobody's gonna publish that, right? And I tried, but nobody's gonna publish that. So, but then I would come back to it. I remember I did a story of like 2 or 3 episodes in Rap Pages magazine. I decided, and I knew it as soon as my brother said Boston, he said, Tim, Black Metropolis is your memoirs. And as soon as I said it, I went, damn, because I knew it. As soon as he said it, oh, I gotta go into personal stuff now. So the show is, weirdly enough, a very rarely seen history of visual Afrofuturism, which you don't see. I mean, you have a number of operators who are visual Afrofuturists, but a lot of them have, most of them have been only practicing 10 years, 15 years, right? You know, maybe 1 or 2, 20 years, right? Which you would say, oh, well, that's a long time. But I've been practicing for almost 40 years. So I'm sure there's somebody out there, but no one, except for a handful of guys who've done it for as long as I have. It's because it's hard to do. It's hard for all of us to do this work because who's gonna print this stuff? How are you gonna make your living from it? Oh man, I wanna do stuff with black characters, having agency, but they're doing it in the, crazy, big, epic way. Who's going to publish that? Who's gonna publish that? Now they're kind of looking to publish. They published Infinitum, which is big, but the previous 35 years, no, that wasn't the case. It's just that I was compelled to do it. It's what I do. It's like when a person is a dancer or a basket weaver or they write plays or they're a cook or a chef or they're an athlete. You do it because that's what you do. It's not my job, even though there are job aspects to it. It's my work, it's my life's work. My name's Tim Fielder, and I'm here, Black Metropolis, my career retrospective, 30 years plus now of visual Afrofuturism in comics, graphic and concept design for film and games, straight up black, hard sci-fi. That's what it is. It's at the Children's Arts Carnival at 62 Hamilton Terrace in New York City, all part of the Carnegie Hall Afrofuturism Festival. The show was curated by Jose Ortiz, Dionis Ortiz, who mounted the whole show, and Boston Fielder, my brother. And I'm very proud of the show, very proud to have done it here at the Carnival. It's Black Metropolis, February 1st, which was a little while ago, all the way to March 31st. So we went through Black History Month and Women's History Month.